Hello, and welcome to another game development broadcast for Project CSK. As usual, of course, I'm the creator of the project, and the online name that I go by is Des. We're going to continue working on the project like we have been doing for quite a while, and today is our Tuesday broadcast. For those of you that may not know, I do broadcasts on Tuesdays and Fridays, pretty much on the regular at approximately the same time every time, but there's times when I do miss it from once in a while. But for the most part, I do try to be consistent. So if you do want to catch those live, you're welcome to it. And if you want to watch it on YouTube later for whatever reason, if you can't make it to the live one or you just want to skim through something because you saw something that was interesting, you're welcome to watch it on YouTube as well. They're all archived up onto YouTube. We're going to be continuing with more or less where I last left things off. So on the weekend, and it was a nice long weekend too. It was great, actually. I like 3-day weekends. I've been doing a lot of research into shaders using Shader Graph specifically, and wow, that is quite the rabbit hole to go down, but it's so fun. Like, I was having such a great time just messing around with it. And right now, it's still too early. I don't have anything really to show, but when we get there and when we get to that point where I can actually take that knowledge and start building stuff, it's going to be really cool. And I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm even more excited to get to the game world part with the pet combats and all that cool stuff, because we're going to make some really cool like spells and effects and all of that stuff using the GPU thanks to the way shaders work. Of course, shader graph is a visual representation. At its core, I think, and I could be wrong on this, but feel free to correct me. It's HLSL, and then shaders. I think for Unity, it's called shader lang or something along those lines. I don't know the scripting part, and the scripting of shading is shaders is always going to be superior, of course. The node-based shader graph, the visual representation of it, is really good, and it's great, actually. If you want to just get into it, start learning it and all of that stuff, it's great. But there's some things it just doesn't do because there has to be a node for it. If the node doesn't exist, then you're going to end up scripting it anyway, right? So, but the node is a really good entry level to get into it. And then the good thing is that when you make stuff through the node system, which is Shader Graph, you can just open it up and look at the code, and you can learn from it that way too. So I'm going to start with, of course, Shader Graph. And for most people, Shader Graph is going to be good enough. But then for things that it doesn't do, or for those who want to go a little bit deeper, like myself at some point in the future or distant future, I'm going to get into the scripting part of it. But for right now, just going to take it easy, enjoy, learn, have some fun messing around with some stuff, and it's really cool. It's really fun. We'll see more of that stuff for sure in future broadcasts when I start getting into that stuff. Oh, hello, Mr. Cog 3D. How are we doing today? Hope you're doing well and had a good long weekend. And it was a bit of a cool weekend too, which I don't mind because I think the temperature went down a little bit and then it's going to go up again for a brief period of time. And then that's probably going to be it for the most part. I could be wrong, but I don't think we'll see any super high temperatures or anything like that again after the next little week or so. But we'll see how things go. But anyway, hello and welcome. And for those of you that are going to be watching later on YouTube, you're welcome to jump into the live broadcast, or you're welcome to watch them on YouTube. And you can ask me questions in the comments too as well. I know I forget about those sometimes, but I do check on it periodically from time to time just to see if there was any comments that I should be replying to. There's just too much stuff for me to do, and there's only one of me. I mean, what can I say? So you'll have to forgive me for that part. But anyway, so on the weekend, I had the opportunity to also work on some stuff, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. We got a little bit farther into the visual language that I was talking about, the expressive emote system. And I'm really thinking that I should rename that at some point. But for right now, it's just going to stay as is. So where I got it to is that, so now when you press the, I keep forgetting, the right trigger on a gamepad. There's no button for keyboard yet, or for what do you call it, for touch input. It doesn't exist yet, even though like the functionality is there. There's just no button. There's no, link. But anyway, so right trigger brings this up, right? And then I added some of the expressive emotes that I recently got from one of the community members who I've been asking them to do some commission stuff for me. So here's one of them, right? So it looks really like the artwork is solid, right? So there's that one, and then there's this one. So this one would be greeting. So when you walk into an area and you want to greet someone, right? This would be your greeting, right? And then the response you would get back likely is this one here, meaning, the response here would be the same, but then when you're leaving, you would say goodbye. So one is hello. Sorry, I've been using them the wrong way. This one is hello. This one is goodbye. I get them mixed up at this time. I'm not used to it. There's so many of these. I've yet to, because once you symbolically like learn it, then you just do it subconsciously, right? But until you get to learn it, I'm not reading the text. I'm trying to go off by the graphic itself, and it doesn't quite register yet. But anyway, so this would be hello, and then I got the other one, which was confirm. So here's another good one, right? Like this one is nice, right? So when someone, nope, not that. So when someone, let's say, says something, so nice can be a confirm, like yes, or also a nice, like let's say you get a good drop, or you win, or you have a good game, or something like that. Your response can be nice, right? And then there's some more as well, of course. There's the face palm, of course, which if you're in the Discord community for the project, you've seen it. And then there's some other ones that are top notch. This one I like as well. Gingerbread, like shoulder shrug. I thought that was pretty good. And then of course we got the right? So when you're, thinking about something. And let's see, what other one did we get? Cool, we got, I think there was one more I missed. Did I miss one? This one here, I think, is the happy one. So yeah, those are the ones that I got right now, and there's more coming. There's more coming, for sure. Had a seminar on Unity and cell phone games. Was about launching and pre-launching your games. Was very good. They recorded. Care for the link to watch another time? Absolutely yes. I do watch a lot of Unity-related stuff. I watch the GDC talks. I watch a copious amount of educational material that includes, recently it's been mostly like shaders and shader graph and visual effects and stuff, just trying to learn the lingo, trying to learn how to articulate things to others, trying to learn the do's and don'ts and the limitations of what you can do and what you can't do using shaders and whatnot. So I go through a lot of tutorials. So absolutely provide that to me, and I'll gladly take a look at it when I get a chance. Called Key Finding from Unity's Mobile Insight 2022 Growth and Monetization Report. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. If you don't mind, just drop me a message in Discord with that link. That way, it'll be easier for me to find later, and I'll just use that link. Okay. Yeah. When you get the link, yes, absolutely. Please send that my way. I like that kind of educational material. It's good information for me. And then if it's something that I can use, something that I can show in the broadcast, I can then relay that information back to yourself and others with my interpretation and how it applies to me and my project, and that can better help others in the future as well. So. It's vital for 2022. Yeah, a lot of the Unity stuff, there's a lot of good information out there. It's just that's just the thing, though. There's a lot of it out there. It's difficult to go through that much. So you have to prioritize what's the most relevant, what's the newest, maybe, because sometimes there's stuff that's still important and it's relevant information, but it might be older and it will apply differently to a previous version of Unity than a more recent version of Unity, because things change. Like right now, I'm on the latest version of 2022 1.10 F. Sorry, it's not the latest. There's a newer version. The newer version is, what was it? When I was checking the other day. Oh, come on. So when I was checking the other day, it is, okay, yeah, so 15F1. But what I've noticed too, though, is that this version, because I'm not on a bleeding edge version on the early alpha stuff. This is the betas before they become more standardized, we'll say. This is definitely not an LTS version, and it has bugs. And it's got some pretty strange bugs. One of them I came across recently when working in shaders. If you're not using the default shaders, you can come across some pretty interesting behavior that's undesirable. Specifically, it gives you errors, or what you see, like let's say you're working with shader, what you see in the scene view does not match what you see in the game view. So that was really confusing for me, because I had the shader open on one side, and then I had the game view open on the, no, did I have game view? No, I had scene view open on the other side. And I was wondering, why isn't this working? I'm expecting a certain result, but I'm not getting the result that I want, right? And then by chance, I just happened to flip to the game view, and I was like, wait a minute, why is it showing this on game view, but it's showing this other thing on scene view? Right? And then after some Googling, I realized that, yeah, okay, so there's some inconsistencies that are not yet sorted out, but they will, of course, be sorted out, and Unity is aware of it, which is great. And then there's some other strange stuff as well that you come across. But when working with shaders as well, when looking at a lot of these, because there's a good amount of information, like videos about shaders on YouTube, but they're like the older ones, and shader graph has been progressing really quickly, and there's certain fundamental things that are different, right? Like before, they used to use PBR, which you don't use PBR really anymore. Going forward, you're using the universal render pipeline, and the way the links work, they're similar, but there's also some differences, right? And I noticed there's some behavior differences as well in some of the nodes, which was also surprising, because I was following a tutorial. I was getting a different result than the tutorial because I'm using URP. Yes, I'm using Universal Render Pipeline, but that tutorial was on an older version of something. So it was interesting. It was interesting to experience it. Very relevant for you. I agree. Shaders can ruin a game. LOL. I'm not sure I agree with you on that. I think excessive usage, or using them in a way that they're not really bring any value to your project, maybe they could be detrimental to your project. But if used correctly, you can do stuff with shaders that are absolutely impossible to do without the use of shaders. Like, for example, let's say this scene, and I've seen this on other games before in the past console games, you can paint something into, like, you can paint into the what you see onto the screen, right? So what you would do is you would need shaders, right? And you need to take the input of the user and then have it modify the shaders through the GPU, right? So you're passing the information into the shaders, and the shaders can do some really interesting stuff, and you can paint a scene into view instead of just fading in and out like when you do a scene transition. You can't do that without shaders, right? And you can do some really other cool stuff with shaders that are just phenomenal. Let me show you. Actually, let me see if I can open this up. And you can do conditional logic, which I wasn't too sure previously how it worked inside of shaders. But now that I'm understanding it, you can do conditional logic and you can do other types of manipulation that I used to think about. How do they, fully go into this kind of detail? But I'm starting to get a better understanding of it now. With shaders and understanding the nodes and whatnot. So it's really powerful. It's so powerful. I kind of wish I knew this stuff before, but I never really had a reason to get into it, which is why this project is so great for me as an individual. It's because I get to experiment with this stuff and I get to mess around and just have some fun with it. Okay, I need to snap that. Yeah, so you can do some pretty cool stuff. You're saying the same as me, but you're more specific, so you're not disagreeing. Yeah, I think we are pretty much saying the same thing. It's just the wording that's different. Yeah, I agree with that. But let me show you this. This is my prototype one, which is pretty awesome, that I've been just kind of messing around with. So here is one of the things that I've been working on. So this one is, of course, the shield. So this would be this shield over here, right? So this shield that you see on the character when you bring it up, instead of just showing this, right? What's going to be is it's going to be something like this. Not quite this detailed, right? But you can see this one here. Let me move this out of the way, right? So this looks pretty cool, right? And this is done through shaders, and it uses your GPU. And the cool thing with this, though, is you can put in conditional logic, and I'll show you what I mean in a bit. So this is the shader. You can just as easily, right, go and change the color to whatever that you want. The shield can be any color that you want. It doesn't really matter. And then I put some conditional logic in there as well. So this is called intersection. So an intersection means when an object intersects with another. Let me show you what happens when I disable it, right? You'll notice this bottom piece, right? The intersection all of a sudden got removed. But when we bring it back, right, you can see that intersection. Now I can adjust the strength of that intersection in, where did I put that? Offset power. I should name that better. So you can see the strength of the intersection. It's a bit excessive and it's not completed. It's still a bit early, but you can see what the intersection does. It means where it kind of clips into another object, you can have it do this behavior, which is really cool. And then you can conditionally disable and enable it, which is conditional logic. So let me show you how that works. So if we go into the shader, oh, that's the other one I was messing around with. I think it's this one. And you can, with shaders, you can take a graphic that is not pixelated, it's not pixel art, but you can make it into pixel art, which is pretty cool. This window is just not big enough. Need more space. Okay, so ignore that part. The way that it works is you can put in conditional logic. So here's my if logic, right? So this node here is my if logic. So basically, if it's true, right, this path of logic applies, right? This path of logic applies. But then if it's false, right, this path of logic applies, right? But you can see that they share some commonality. They share the Fresnel lens and the Fresnel effect, the texture that's applied to it. But they share that a little bit in common. Because of the if conditional logic, you can split out your logic and you can have checkboxes that enable and disable whenever you want. So this is really good stuff to learn. And then, of course, there's going to be a lot more different things that apply to it. But here's another one. So this one here, you can see. So this one is actually the default shader for the particle system. So this shader is actually so black on the surrounding, and it does this gradation inward. So let me show you how this gets pixelated. And I can take this down and you'll see, like, look at how it pixelates just by changing the power level. And you can see the pixelation. Whoops, let's go up to 10. It works better with multiples of 2, of course. But you can see how you can kind of change something into pixel art. That's a lot of pixels. That's why it kind of looks like that. But the way that that works as well is it's not super complex. It's just a matter of understanding the way the nodes work. And this is how that one works. It takes the UV. We multiply the UV by the power. So this was the number that I was modifying. So we modify, or we multiply that value with the UV. We floor it. So flooring would be rounding it. If you go ceiling, of course, it would go up. If you floor it, it goes down. And then we take that and we divide it by that same number, and it gives you this. So this is what you're seeing when I go and I manipulate it. And then I go and put that into the tiling and offset. And that gets applied to the texture, meaning the graphic itself. And then that goes and multiplies by the color and whatnot. And it's really fascinating. It's really cool stuff that I will be doing a lot more of in the future. And it's going to bring some really neat things to the project as a whole when I get to the point that I can start applying this kind of logic in through shaders. Is it appropriate for pixel art game? Did you say earlier that you can go and look and change the script code when you create something using Unity Visual Scripting? If so, that is incorrect. No, I'm pretty sure you can. So if you go into your shader, I've seen it on a YouTube video as well. So from here, what you can do is you can go to where was it? So you go to your shader here, I believe. So let's pick this one. Let's see if we can look at the, so we'll go to the pixel shader. We right click and we say, where was it? Open C# project. I don't remember. I saw it on a YouTube video. So let me open this up. Okay. So here is our shader. So this is our shader. Of course, you can't directly modify it here. So what you do with this, so this is the pixel one, which does this pixelation thing. What you do is you take this, where was it? Oh no, I just lost it. So you take this, you need to save it, right? You can't directly modify it here. You save it, and then you can make the modifications and you can bring it in. It can't be, once you go and you start modifying here, you can't bring it back into shader graph as far as I know. But what you can do is you can, let's say for example, and I seen this, a really good example of this in a YouTube video where someone went and they set it up. So they hooked up their nodes and they did their prep work and they said, okay, so this is as far as I can take it inside of shader graph, but then I can't take it farther because the nodes and the logic can't do what I need it to do. So it's easier for me to go and modify the code. So then what he did is he went in and he opened up this here, and he started going in here, and he took the stuff out that he didn't need it, because there is stuff in here that you don't need, which is why it's always more powerful to code it yourself. And then he went and he modified this logic, and he said, okay, so this is what we're going to be using. And then he brought it back into the project, and he applied he brought in the shader and made a material from it and applied it to the object. And I was like, sweet, you can do that? That's a thing? I was like, okay, great. So if that guy can do it, that works for me. And this is the code for it. So I hope that clarifies it. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is I previously got it to the point where you can bring this up. There's a few usability flaws with this that I have yet to work out. So this is not quite completed, but so far I can get it to, you can select, I pressed the wrong button. You can select an emote, and right now, because it's running standalone, it doesn't it doesn't send to the server, just because my server isn't even up right now. So what this does is it just runs it locally. But what I want to do is I want to see if I can find that bug, which kind of makes it so sometimes when you press the right trigger, instead of this coming up, it collapses immediately afterward, which I don't understand why. So maybe it was that I was pressing it too fast, or whatever the case may be. But so far, this is kind of working. And then what I want to do is I want to build in the functionality. So the next shader that I'm going to be working on, of course, one of them is the shield, which is this one here. And then the other one is when you throw the popsicles, right? What I want to do is on collision of the ground, when it's supposed to explode and do its thing, that's going to be a shader. So I want to kind of do the prep work for that. So what I'm going to be using is basically using just a rectangle, a cube, stretched out vertically, basically the size of one of these cells. And then I'll just use that for now. But then later, when I got the shader ready to go for it, then I'll be bringing in the shader, just like how this shield, this is just a temporary placeholder until I get the shield shader ready to go, and I can bring that in. And then once I do that, there's some more polish stuff and some bugs and some logical flaws that I want to address. I know I'm kind of jumping over some important some details, but then that would mean that the game room is pretty much ready to, like, it's done to the point where it's not like done, but it's playable to the point where I've implemented enough logic that I'm happy with it, right? That then I can shift my focus onto the world part of it, right? And the world part is then going to be just awesome when we get there. I have nothing yet for the world. Right now, I have absolutely nothing. I need to build out the first town. I need to build out the initial areas. I need to implement a lot of logic. I need to implement like the jump mechanic and all of that stuff, which I haven't done yet, right? So all of that stuff will be coming into play, and that's going to be really cool. But of course, that's still a ways away, right? I'm talking like months of work. And of course, it takes that long because I work on this casually, right? It's something that I do on my spare time. Sometimes I have more spare time. Sometimes I have less spare time. So it varies from time to time. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. According to my seminar a couple of weeks ago, GameDev.tv, you're not interchangeable. And the lady who hearted it, one of the persons who designed it, I believe you're talking about the shader thing. If you say so, cool, but it might be something specific or something unique to it that would be a restriction. Again, I'm still learning this stuff myself. YouTube is a great reference, and I'm just experimenting, right? So there's still a lot for me to learn, and I may get some of stuff incorrect, or I make incorrect assumptions at this time. So if I do, I apologize for that. But I'm still learning. But from what I've seen, and I'm going from what I've seen, not from what I've done, right? What I just showed you does work, and it works like I mentioned, and I got it off a YouTube video, which I seen someone do exactly that. Okay, so let's kind of jump into this and see if we can get this thing going. What I do want to do is just get my local server up and running, because where I seen that bug is when we connect, it seems like there's slightly different behavior with the emotes when connected to a server inside of a game room versus when just in this standalone space that I'm currently using as my test. So I'm not sure exactly what is causing that, but I want to take a look at it and see if I can find it. I can find it. If not, we'll just move on to some other functionality, and I'll look for it later. And I also saw that there's a new version of OBS that's out, version 28, which is getting a lot of good reviews. So I will be upgrading. I logged in as the wrong account. I will be upgrading to that when after a little while, once it's a bit more stable and they've addressed some of the bugs, and they have fix some of the plugins, because right now some plugins inside of OBS do not work in the new version, just because the developers of those plugins have not yet updated them to work with the new OBS version 28 framework and API. Okay. So that's up and running. Let's see if we can connect and if we can test this out. And I'm still experiencing that thing with my Xbox controller. So right now, when I log in, or sorry, when I reboot the system, the Xbox controller cannot connect with my system. I have to tell my desktop to remove it, so it forgets it. It removes it from archive, right? And then I have to reconnect it as a new device again every time. And then it'll work until the next time I shut off or reboot my system, which is kind of silly, but I mean, whatever. It still works. Before I was using my PS3 controller, and that has its own bugs with it as well, or challenges, should I say. So using the Xbox one, I just find it's a bit more comfortable because it's not wired, right? I use it as wireless unless I need to charge it. Okay, so let's try this. We press it, it comes up. So we'll go with a hello. Okay, so this seems to be working. I also fixed so when this comes up, like when I give input, any type of input, it doesn't move my character anymore, which was a little unfortunate, but it was just something that hadn't been fixed yet. Okay, I'm trying to see if I can figure out how sometime when the ring comes up, it comes up and goes away immediately. So you'll see it for a fraction of a second. I want to see if it's a crash or if it's something else. I don't know. But so I'm just going to keep on spamming stuff. Okay, so far it seems to be working consistently. It does seem to be working consistently. I've yet to experience it. Maybe I did accidentally press it twice, like uh, by accident, and not realizing it. That's possible. Okay, I don't see this. I can't seem to reproduce this bug. Maybe I need to wait till next round. We'll see. We'll see if next round causes it. But so far, it seems to be working. Every time I click the button, it's accurate. So I'm thinking it might have been either some kind of weird condition that I don't know about yet, or it was just me accidentally pressing it twice and not thinking about it. But this is what the beta testers are going to get. Oh, hi, Uzek. How are you doing? Welcome to the broadcast. Hope you're doing well. I don't know if you saw that short little animated GIF that I put in Discord. What was it, on Sunday? Yeah, I think it was Sunday or Monday. I forget. But so I was basically just showing off the emote system. So this right here. So I got this working inside of the room, where you can do that, and you can use the emotes, and it syncs across the client. So it's pretty cool. And I'm trying to see if I can. So there's at least I think there's a bug with this, where sometimes when you press the button for it to come up, it doesn't quite show up when it should. So I'm just trying to see if I can get it to work somehow. Or, sorry, get it to break somehow. But it seems to be consistent. Yeah, I don't think I can reproduce that. So I think I may have to just accept it as something that I'll need to look into later on, because I can't reproduce it. So if I can't reproduce it, maybe, I don't know. Okay, so we'll just move on then. So what I want to do is I want to do the freeze thing. So let me show you what that looks like. I really do need to set up a button for this on my thing. Okay, so you can see on the Flash side versus the Unity side. So I'm going to throw a popsicle, right? And you'll see the Flash freeze, and then you'll see the character model freeze as well, right? So you see that on the Flash side. It does this effect first, and then it freezes them, right? So that's what I want to bring into the Unity side, but it's going to be a little bit different. So we'll see how that goes. For right now, what I want is for it to just bring in a basic effect, which then we'll use shader for later on, like I mentioned earlier, and we'll make it look really cool. But for right now, we're not quite there yet. So let's posture. I keep forgetting. I have really bad posture when sitting down for extended periods of time. I think we all do to some degree, but it's something I do want to improve on. It's just I keep forgetting about it, and I keep slouching a little bit, and then I slouch a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then I eventually catch myself, and I'm like, oh, okay, I shouldn't be sitting like this. But I would like to subconsciously catch that earlier so I'm not slouching so much, because it's just not good for you. It's not. It affects your breathing. It affects your just energy, state of mind, and it's not good to have your back arched like that. Okay, so what do we want to do here? Let's get rid of that. We don't need that right now. Okay, so I want to create the effect first, and it's going to be pretty simple. It is going to be, oops, didn't mean to press that. So we'll go into, actually, we can just create it on here for now. Let's move to our scene, test scene. Okay, so what we'll do is we will use, what was that program called? I forgot the name of the program. What was the program I used for, oh wow, I can't believe I don't remember the name of it. So it should be, I'm just completely drawing a blank. I know what program or should I say tool, not program, tool. It's the 3D tool that's a plugin that 3D physics. It's, do I not have it in this project maybe? Okay, let's go and open up that test one and see if maybe I just haven't imported that tool into this project. So we'll go into I think that's it. Oh, Unity, you got to fix that. I'm used to double clicking to opening up a project. But in Unity, when you double click it, the first click tries to open it, and the second click tries to open another instance. That just shouldn't be a thing. I see a kinesiologist for exercises to help me during work. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to assume it's something like physio or some kind of assistant, someone who's a trained expert. What? Failed to start Unity package. Not this again. So a similar thing like this happened to me before, and then I was unable to open the project entirely. That's not good. Okay, so let's see if I can try again. physiotherapists, but they just focus on exercises. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I do like stretching and stuff in the mornings, and I try to do some in the afternoon and then in the evening. But to be honest, sometimes I'm lazy and I don't. Other times I'm really good about it. I do cardio twice a week. I when the weather is warm, I like to go biking. I like to go kayaking. But all of those are great, and I highly recommend them, as well as eating properly and healthy, nutritious stuff, and not eating liquid or consuming liquid sugar or just junk food in general. But this sitting, it's a posture thing, right? That's really difficult to fix, in my opinion, for me anyway, right? Because it's something you just do without thinking about it. How do you fix something that you do without thinking about it? I don't really know. Of course, I'll keep trying, and I will. But okay, so can I get this to open or not? Okay, so let's see if I can. Okay, so I switched it from the previous version of Unity I was trying to open in. I switched it to an LTS version. And let's see if this can open it. It looks like it's going to, but we'll just. I can't really. We'll just wait for that. I use straps mostly. I use straps mostly. I will take a photo and show you sometime. Works well even for posture. What is the plugin called? That's what I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember what the plugin is called because I can't remember the 3D plugin that I use inside of Unity to make stuff. Because as soon as I remember it, I'm going to bring it in and I'm going to make something. And there goes my camera again. I really do need to get a proper camera at some point, and I will. Just too many other things come first. Okay, so it looks like it's loading. I'm trying to remember what the what that plugin name is called, and I can't. So I'm opening the project that I use that plugin in primarily, which is kind of like my test environment for making 3D models and whatnot inside of Unity. I should probably learn to use Blender, and I'm going to have to learn it sometime, but I don't use it enough to remember it and to learn it properly. And it's just too many things to learn, right? So like when you're working on a project, there's just so Pro Builder, that's what it is. Okay. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah. So here is the plugin, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen me use it before. So Pro Builder allows you to make some pretty cool stuff. So all of this stuff, not all of it, but most of it is made in Pro Builder. My shadow casters, these are all made in Pro Builder, right? Yeah, so that's what I want to do. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want to make a cube, but I want to remove the top and the bottom. I want it to be open top, open bottom. That makes sense. Resistance bands, actually. I bought Bob's and Brands. Some have careers just using Blender. It's not easy. Yeah, I agree. But anything, that's worth doing, of course, is not going to be easy. But also, anything is possible to learn, right? So, it's definitely possible. Okay, so what I want is Pro Builder. let's see. I don't know if I have it in here. So let's look at our package manager for this project and look at Pro. Yeah. Pro Builder. Okay, so I don't have it installed. That's why I couldn't find it. I was trying to look for it, but what we'll do is we'll just download and install it. It won't take long. It shouldn't be that huge of a thing. But I do want it inside of this project just so I can quickly throw some stuff together. Okay. It'll just be a little bit longer. So I highly recommend this tool because of its simplicity and ease of use. It's pretty good. Of course, it's not a substitute for Blender or Maya or Houdini or any of the others, right? It's just very, very basic. And it would be great if Unity incorporated or bought these guys out and incorporated something like that within Unity itself. Because right now, you can't make stuff, with the exception of code, of course. You can always code it, but you can code it, but you can't make stuff through a GUI. And there goes my camera again. You can't make stuff. So once it's installed, we can go up here, and there should be a panels. Where is the there we go, Tools, Pro Builder window. That's what I want. Okay, so this is our window. I'm just going to mount it right here. Okay, so with that, so it's pretty simple the way that it works. And I've used it. I don't use it to an advanced level, of course. Even this is pretty advanced for me as a newbie with 3D modeling and whatnot. So what you do is you just click New Shape. You select the default shape that you want, and this gives you a base to work with, right? And then from there, you can take that and you can modify it, right? But so what is a Pro Builder shape is modifiable, but what's made in Unity, like let's say you make a cube or you make a sphere or something, you can't directly modify it with the Pro Builder tools, but what you can do is you can select on the object, and then you can tell Pro Builder to Pro Builderize. And what it does is it takes that object and it modifies its properties, and it makes it in a way that you can edit it using Pro Builder. And so that's really useful. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to make a cube. So it's going to be a very basic cube. I want it to be by 0.4, 0.4, 0.4, right? Wait, why is it not? So you say 0.4, 0.4, 0.4, and then I just want to, how do you just tell it to just make this first corner? Let's center. I don't care about centering. I will, I can correct that, which is the other nice thing about this tool is you can adjust the pivot point of a 3D object that was made in something else. But what's the point of setting size if I can't? So I have to click and drag. So what was the point of setting size? Okay, whatever. So I'll go 0.4, 0.4, 0.4. Okay, and there's my cube. So it's not committed yet. So then I just hit escape, and now it's committed. So now this object is created. Similar to 3D modeling tools, you have these additional UI buttons here. So you can do object select, which is the default Unity behavior. You can do vertex selection, right? So you can select the individual vertices, right? And you can manipulate them, right? Like you can manipulate them however you like. You can do edge selection, so you can select a edge or multiple, and you can modify them. And then, of course, there is face selection, where you can select a face, and you can pretty much do what you want there as well. So the other, where's the undo? Oh no. Oh no, that's not the size. Is it? I thought the size was a bit different. Okay, whatever, I'll remake it. Okay, so we'll remake it. Cube. So you drag first, so you're creating the bottom, then you go up, so you're creating the vertical height. So we go that's not what I did. 0.4, 0.4, and 0.4. Okay. So there's our object. Okay, and then what I want to do is hit F to focus onto it so I can rotate around it. And then I want to go to face selection, so select this face. And then what we can do is we can go and say set pivot. So set pivot sets the pivot to the center of this object. So then when I go back to object selection, because I set the pivot there, when I go and I rotate it, so it's rotating on that pivot point, right? You can set the pivot point to anything that you want. You can even set the pivot point to, let's say, a vertice. So I want that to be my pivot. You can go and say set pivot, right? So now when I go and I modify it, it's pivoting. This is, you can see it pivoting on that point, right? So pivot point is really powerful. I like that. Unity does not have that. As far as I know, that's the only way you can do that, with the exception of script. There goes my camera again. This is what happens when you have multiple instances of Unity open. Right now, I have 3 instances of Unity open, just because I'm referencing stuff. So let's close that one. Let's close the other one as well, to just reduce that. Okay. So now we only have 1 instance of Unity open. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to set my pivot point to the bottom, right? Okay, so now that I have that, what I can do is I can go in and I can still modify the height of it. So this one is going to be my the initial freeze effect of when you throw a popsicle, and I'm going to be applying a shader to it at a later time. But for right now, what I want to do is I want to remove the top and I want to remove the bottom. So how do we do that? Great question. Let's find out, because I don't think I've done that yet. So there should be a remove. Okay, so if we select the face and I click backspace, okay, so that's the top, and you can see it's not double-sided, which is fine, not a big deal. And we'll select the bottom and we'll remove the bottom, right? So there's our, actually, now that I think about it, I don't need the sides, because the camera is going to be fixed like this. You never see the sides, so I don't need the left or the right side either. Okay, we'll just leave it for now, right? So we'll leave the left and right side, but really the ones that I'm looking for is the front face, or the frontmost face of it, and the back face. This one, it doesn't render double-sided right now, but it will later. For right now, it's okay. So what we're going to be doing is, let's make a shader for this, or sorry, not a material for this, which then we will make a shader. So what we'll do is we will go and make a material inside of our materials folder when I find it. Materials. Okay. So these are currently my materials. So let's create a material. And this one will be the effect flash freeze. We'll call it 0. Okay, so effect flash freeze 0. It's going to have a color. The color of it will make it like a really kind of faint soft blue with some transparency, right? And then we'll go and apply it to our box, right? So we need to be able to select it like so, and then we go into our materials, and we called it flash freeze. And there's our not so great soft blue color, right? So wait, I thought I applied a bit of transparency to it. Didn't I? Oh, okay. So let's go to here and see, what did we apply? Universal render pipeline lit. Metallic opaque, it should be transparent. Okay, so there's the transparency. Don't care. Receive shadows, definitely not. I don't think I really care about this other stuff at this time. We'll let our shader, so later, because when I go and apply a different shader, all of these properties will change. And the shader will do exactly what I want it to do. So for right now, what we can do is, yeah, I don't want to do, I keep thinking I want to do shaders, but I don't want to do shaders right now. That's a rabbit hole. As soon as I get into it, hours go by in what feels like a matter of minutes. Okay, so that's going to be our thing, but let's change the, I want to give it a little bit, I want it to stand out a little bit more. So what we'll do is we will select it, and we will change the color to, isn't this where you change the color of it to HDR? Okay, so we can say both. Okay, so that's correct. And then where's the HDR option? Emission? No. So the HDR is disabled because the color is using standard color. It's not HDR. How do you change that in here? I don't know. I know how to change it through the custom shader, but I don't know how to do it here. Maybe it's just because the base color is not HDR or something. I thought it was an option somewhere in here. Okay, whatever. Not a big deal. So we have our little cube here. The top is, of course, removed. The bottom is removed. Now it's double-sided, and this is vaguely going to be our cube. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our cube, and we're going to name it, where's our prefabs folder? Because I want to make a prefab out of this, and it's going to be object pooled as well. So this one will go into our effects. Okay. So this one isn't going to be a particle effect. It's going to be a shader effect. shader of, no, I don't think I want to call it shader. I'll just call it effect. Flash freeze 0. Okay. And then we'll drag and drop it and make a prefab out of it. So let's go into the prefab and we'll reset these. Okay, so that's important because then the anchor position or the pivot point is at the bottom. So when I go to place it somewhere, it'll always be sitting on top of whatever I place it, right? Instead, by default, usually objects are anchored in the center most. So when you put it, it's going to be half cut off and into the ground, right? So I always prefer it this way. The pivot point makes a huge deal for me. That way I don't have to calculate an offset through code. It's done entirely through design, and it's always going to be correct. And the reason why I set it at 0.4, 0.4, 0.4 is because this is its 100% size, right? So when I go and change the scale at a later time, right? When I change the vertical scale, right? Look at the way it stretches out. Because of the anchor position, right? It stretches out upwards. It doesn't go up and down, right? And this is the value I'm going to be changing later. So this will probably end up being like a 2 or a 3 even, right? So that's going to be our effect. However, this does need some script for us to be able to use it. Specifically, it needs I think we might need to make a new branching that extends from our poolable object. No, it also needs a particle, because particle will go inside of it. So there's going to be a particle system that goes with this as well. But the particle system, initially I'm going to use Unity's particle system. So if you're not familiar with it, some of you may be, some of you may not be. The particle system, this particle system that you see here, so this is what's being considered as the legacy. It's still going to likely exist in Unity for a long time, but this uses your CPU. This does not use GPU like I initially thought. The new one that's going to replace this and is the successor as this is called VFX, VFX Graph. And it's way more advanced than this, and it looks just like shaders. It uses the very similar concept to shader graph, and it is way more advanced than this, and it uses your GPU. However, this one, you can interact with the CPU. You can interact with this, and you can do, I think, collisions and whatnot, or something like that. I don't remember the full details, but there's differentiating limitations with each one. However, this one, like you can hit, let's say, a particle system on a modern system. You can do 100,000 particles, right, on a GPU that's modern, and it'll do okay, right? But it'll take a good amount of resources, right? But when you're using your GPU, using the VFX graph, right, you can be in the millions and still do, like, you know, exceptionally well performance-wise. So using that, when performance counts, the other one is far better. And I'm trying to load balance too. So I want only what needs to be run on the CPU, and then all of these VFX and other visual effects and particle systems and whatnot, I want to move all of those onto the GPU. So initially, I will be using the, which one was it? Initially, I will be using the default particle system, but then I'll be moving away from that. But that's another thing for me to learn, because the VFX graph uses what's called systems, and you can have multiple systems running as a part of one VFX graph, which is really interesting. But the amount of information on that is not it's not that well defined. Like it's not as common to use. A lot of people still use the old particle system, which is still viable. It's still perfectly viable, and I'm not saying you shouldn't use it. But for my use case and for those in the future, I would probably recommend get started with the particle default system, but then move that over to VFX Graph and use the GPU and all the other abilities that comes with, because it's just like using a node system or very similar to using shader graph, and the two tie into each other as well. So you can have your shader be brought in, of course, and work as a part of VFX Graph. I'm getting the words mixed up. I apologize if I'm getting the words mixed up. I feel like I'm getting them mixed up. Okay. So here is our beautiful flash freeze, which looks pretty cool. And it'll look better later. But for right now, it's just going to be pretty much this. Okay, so what we need a script for this specifically. So where is our, what do we use for the particle system? Or the poof thing? There we go. So I'm just going to open this one up and see what does this look like. Okay, so this extends directly from Poolable Object, and it's very basic, right? Because Poolable Object, the class that we extend from, that has the logic that we need. So what I'm thinking is I'll probably do the same as this, and then at some point make a intermediary which will extend, so it'll be called effect or something. That's if we need it. So effect will extend from Poolable Object, and then particle effect poof will extend from effect, or something like that. But for right now, let's just keep it simple. And what we'll do is we will go and we'll just go and make our we'll just make the class. So it would be inside of scripts, effects, and we'll call it the same thing as this for now, just so it can easily be found. Create C# script. We'll open that up. We'll of course give it a namespace. Okay, and then we want this to extend from Poolable Object, so we get all of that functionality. Okay, so this will have, let's remove some of this stuff actually that we don't need. I just want to clean this up a little bit. Okay. And then we will move this one over here, and we'll just work on the left side on this one here. Okay, so this will have a particle system at some point, and it will recycle at a certain point. So I'll bring both of those in. Start doesn't do anything, but this one has start. It should probably call, is there no base start? Nope. Okay, so no start there. Okay, but we're not using it. So I'm just going to remove this temporarily just because we're not using it. We have on disable. Is disable? Nope, no disable. I'm just trying to make sure I didn't forget to override or call the base function on some of this stuff. So it seems like what we're using is on destroy only. Okay, so if we use on destroy, we need to call base on destroy. Okay. So for the most part, I think we can actually just copy this whole thing. That'll save us some time. Okay, start, we will just comment that out just in case I will, no, you know what? I'll just remove it entirely because we're not using it right now. Okay. Coroutine recycle. Oh, okay. Why do we have a coroutine recycle when we're extending from poolable object? Poolable objects should have a timed delay recycle. Does it not? I thought it did. Yeah. It does. So why are we using this? Why are we using this when we can just say recycle? Because we could do recycle, right? And then pass in duration until recycle. It's in the base class. I don't need this. Okay. Coroutine recycle, stop coroutine recycle. Yeah, we do have it. Oh, we don't have access to it. Okay. Let's expose that function. Oh, it's a protected virtual void. No, wait. Nope, nope, nope. Over here, it's private. That's why we can't access it. Okay, we need to, let's make it protected. That way we can access it. So then this works exactly as it should. So we don't need this either. We don't need this. Okay, that simplifies it, right? This is why it's important to be programming when you are focused, right? Because otherwise, this is all we needed. That's literally all we needed, is just these two functions. But instead, we went this whole. Okay, so that's all we need, right? And then this one, duration until recycle, we'll leave that there for the time being. It doesn't need to do anything fancy because it's going to be done, the logic and whatnot, the visual aesthetics of it and the eye candy is going to be done through shaders. So all I need this to do is just display for a period of time, and then I need it to recycle when we don't need it anymore. That's it. That's all I need. So let's go in and set this in the prefab. So we got our prefab here. We can just collapse ProBuilder. We don't need it right now. I don't really need that right now. Mesh render, lighting, cast shadows, definitely not. Blend probes, we're not using them. Dynamic occlusion culling. We'll leave that for now. Collider definitely off. Actually, I want to remove that. I don't want the collider on that because I will forget that later. Okay, so what we're going to add is we're just going to add the class, the particle system. We will add that later. So for right now, what I want to do is when it calls play effect, we can we can just do a conditional check if particle system does not equal null. So if the value is set, we will call play. But since it's not set, we're not going to call it. Recycle on complete, yes. On disable, we want it to be recycled. That is correct. And I think that's it, really. There isn't much to it. Recycle duration for right now, I'll leave it at 1 second. So what we need to do is trigger the effect. However, we're not directly going to be creating or instantiating this object, right? That is what the replicator is there for. And the reason for that is because we're rarely going to be creating one of these. And I kind of did a little bit of this logic before because it requires some calculations, let's just say. And that's why I want to separate out what's done on the CPU and what's done on the GPU side, right? So we load balance it, right? I don't want all of this stuff, a lot of these like fancy effects and whatnot on the CPU because I want to use the CPU for specific stuff and I want it to have the resources. Of course, on a modern system, it's going to be trivial, right? But what I'm considering is the lower end mobile system specifically. Like even old computers with integrated graphics cards, for the most part, I think should be able to run this game at 30 frames per second. I could be wrong. I haven't done any performance optimization whatsoever at this point, but that's kind of my hope. So then if that's the case, and I'm testing it on older Android devices specifically, they're going to be somewhat of an accurate representation of a user playing, and I want to be able to reach the largest audience possible, right? So, because a lot of people get hand-me-down stuff, or they have old stuff that they keep around, some of it for gaming, and then they have their own personal mobile phone that they use for something else. Or maybe they have a bigger screen tablet that they want to game on, but then they use their cell phone for chatting at the same time as they're gaming, or whatever the case may be, right? I'm not here to say one way or the other. All I'm doing is presenting options, and I'm one of those people who has and keeps around older devices because I don't like to just make e-waste. Like I have 2 older Android devices. Like I said, one of them is my camera, which keeps cutting out, and it's not the phone's fault. The other one is I'm using it as my touch portal. So I don't know how well you can see this. The reflection might not allow it, but this is the older one. This one also is, I put Lineage OS on it, and it's running Android 10, right? The manufacturer, I think they stopped at Android 6 or 7. They stopped supporting it quite some time ago, right? But it's perfectly fine, right? And I still use it. So that's what I use for all the buttons for switching between the screens and whatnot. Okay, so what we want to do is go into the replicator specifically. So let's look at our prefab effect. And then here is our particle effect replicator. Okay, I should probably rename that. it's going to be an effect replicator. So we have explosion poof, and then we have flash freeze. So this is the one I did quite some time ago, right? And the way that this works is you can just choose whichever one that you want. This, you can see it doesn't have anything underneath it, but what it will do is this uses the object pool system, and it will create instances of what you want, right? And it will assemble them in a pattern. Right now, it only does a cross pattern. So this has a power of 1. It'll only do a cross pattern of 1, right? But then later on, we can have it do different shapes, right? So we could do, let's say, instead of a cross, it could do a rectangle, or it could do a square, or something, a circle, right? Or different things, right? So that's what the purpose of this replicator is to handle the logic of you pass in parameters into it, and it will just assemble stuff for you, right? And that way you don't have to worry about it. That's exactly what the purpose of this is. So then I don't have to create stuff, those visual effects. I don't have to create them within the instance of wherever I want to initiate or use them. I just say, okay, I want to grab the next replicator out of the object pool, and I'll say, replicator, here's what I want you to make. I want you to make the flash freeze, and I want you to have the power level of 2 or whatever. Play, right? It does its thing. Then it will grab what it needs out of the object pool, and it will assemble and position them correctly, and that's exactly what I want from it. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to modify our replicator here. So let's grab the replicator, and we'll move this one over here to the side. And this is the current logic. It does a fair bit of stuff, but like I said, it only does a cross pattern at this time. And you can see there's quite a bit of code that I need to remove. That's old logic. But so we have explosion poof, and then we are going to be adding flash freeze. That's the one we're going to be adding. So I want to make sure that we have a test of it that we can use. Okay, this prefab, we no longer need it on the stage. We can remove that. And then let's see, do we have a replicator on stage here? It doesn't look like it. So what I'll do is I will no, we got one right here. Okay, so let's play it. This should be playing the replicator as well. Oh, I think I remember. I disabled that checkbox for something. What was it? It was in the explosion, and it was for testing. So when it goes and explodes, I thought it was here. Nope, maybe it was the button then? I don't remember. Let's zoom back a bit. That's it. So this should be runtime only. That is our effect replicator. Okay, so that's where I disabled it. Okay, so when we play this, This should now play the replicator. So when you click it, there we go. So there's our replicator. And you can see that it is respecting the environment obstacle. And that's one of the logical things that the replicator does, is that it calculates, and you can see by the, let me click you. Okay, fine. Okay. Oh, wow. Let me focus. Okay, there we go. Finally got it. Okay, so the way the replicator works is it does calculations in all 4 directions. So when I click this, you'll notice that I have the draw line, so which are tools, and it goes red. So this one here goes red because it collides with this environment obstacle, right? So that's by design. That way the explosion will go that way. So if this object, and if we move this closer, right? So let's say we move it here and we click it, and you'll see again the explosion doesn't go through, right? So it checks first. Of course, it's doing a ray cast, right? So it does a ray cast and see if there's obstacles in its path. If there's obstacles in its path, it will only go as far as up until the obstacle, right? So if I move this farther away, then it'll extend out all the way to its maximum reach, right? But then if I go and change its maximum reach, so this is a power of 3. Let's go with power of 7, just to be really huge, right? So when we click it, you can see from top view as well, you can see exactly where it goes and stops, and that's this object that is the obstruction. That's why I wanted to use the replicator concept, because this is going to be used a lot for a lot of different things, right? Of course, this, again, right now, this is limited to just a cross pattern, right? Later, I'll be adding additional patterns, right? But for right now, all I need is a cross pattern. I don't need any additional complexity. So that's all I need. But then we can change it from explosion to flash freeze, which I don't have right now. So if I click this, it should crash. Or do nothing. Yeah, it crashed. So yeah, that's because it doesn't exist yet, right? So this is our starting point right here. Let's see what this error is. Prefab lookup ID. Oh, it's a lookup ID. How does it know what to grab? Translation.name. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So iPoolable object, we get that. Okay, so that part I get, but where's the, oh, I was looking at the wrong part. Whoops. Okay, so particle effects, we got poof and we got flash freeze. So if it is, oh, I see. Okay, so I never implemented that logic properly. So when we go and we call flash freeze, it's trying to do a lookup for something that doesn't exist. Okay, got it. So I need to go back to my scriptable object table, which is another thing that I'm glad I changed that logic to. Scriptable objects, wow. When they're useful, they are so useful. Highly recommend it. Okay, so we got resources, we got scriptable objects, and my lookup table. So here I need one for, where is, oh, I don't have it. Okay, that's why. Makes sense. I didn't have the prefab. Okay, so we'll add a new one. And this one will be the effect flash freeze. And then this will point to flash freeze. Okay. So now it should be able to find it. So let's see what happens when we press it now. It should look kind of messed up, but we'll see. So when we click it, oh right, that was in play mode. That setting wasn't saved. So I need to go back to the that's easier. Okay, so we'll change it from that to flash freeze, and then if we click play, there we go. Oh, okay, so it is playing. Okay, so there's our fantastic flash freeze effect. Right? And it also respects the boundary of the obstruction, which is great. I know, again, it doesn't look like much right now, but it will. It'll look pretty cool when I'm done with it. So yeah, it's going to be a combination of this, and it's going to be a combination. Actually, the flash freeze has a power of 2. Yeah, okay, that's its size. Because it doesn't have the same amount of reach as the explosion does. I usually code options that I have not done yet to the debug.log. I've not implemented flash freeze yet because Cog is in lazy mode. That way I get no errors on crashes. LOL. Yeah. I'm panicking. There's a mouse in my room somewhere. How does that happen? Do you have a pet mouse that's loose, or there's a mouse that just somehow managed its way into your room? I must know the details. We're all waiting on those details. A wild mouse in your room. Okay. Don't panic, right? Don't panic. As long as its name is not Brain and it's not accompanied by another one named Pinky, you should be totally fine. But if you call it by its name Brain and it responds back to you and it happens to have a colleague named Pinky, then we might be in trouble. But short of that, I think you should be fine. Just saying. My cat is busy sleeping. That's funny. Okay, so what I want to do as well is I want to see the object pool. Okay. Oh. 10. Oh, right. No, that's correct, because I accidentally once pressed it twice. So this is what's great about these systems once you get them up and running. So it's using the object pool system. We can see that there's 10 in the pool when it recycles, because after 1 second, the individual columns of the effect, they recycle, and there's 10 in there. So when we go and click this, we use 5, right? And it goes back in the pool, right? But if I click it really quickly, right? we have two of them on top of each other. So if I click really, really fast, we can get up to 30 of them displayed for a brief period of time, but then they are in the object pool, which is great. So that's our flash freeze. I think it's going to look great. Looking forward to it. I don't know how I will sleep knowing there's a mouse. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was joking, but yeah, it's weird to have animals like that find their way into your personal space. It can be weird. I kind of feel that way about spiders. Like, I'm not afraid of spiders, but it's because I dislike mosquitoes, right? And mosquitoes, when they come and they land on your skin, they're very soft. You can kind of sense it, but at the same time, you can't really sense their legs. But once you know they're there, or if they are big enough, or they grasp your skin in a way that you feel it, right? Then you know it's there, right? And I don't like mosquitoes, obviously, because they bite you and they carry diseases and all of that stuff. But because spiders are more common, right, throughout the year, and they have a similar sense in their touch, right? I kind of feel the same way about that. And I remember one time, more than once, I woken up and there was a spider on my face, which I thought was a mosquito. So yeah, that thing got flung across the room pretty quickly. But, you know, these things, they happen. They happen. Okay, so with this part of it done, what we can do is we can bring this logic in on the explosion. I want to test it first. Yeah, I want to be able to test it first, and then I want to test it in the game room. And then we also still need to make the frozen encapsulation around the player character model. So that's going to be coming up. Oh, wow, that time just flew by. Okay, so let's see if I can get this kind of going at least. All right, so what we want to do is go into the popsicle. How do we want to do it? Because when it comes from the server, it's going to be different than when it's running locally. I want to test it locally and be able to test it on the server. Initially, we'll do it locally, then we'll move that logic onto the so it works when it's connected to the server. Mosquitoes don't land on me or bite me. I go camping and I don't even know they're around while others are slapping themselves. It could be so some people are unique like that, or there's something in your blood that makes it less desirable for the mosquitoes, because obviously they're after blood, right? So there might be certain things that maybe your body naturally creates, or maybe something you eat or something else that just kind of deters them from you. I know some people are just like that. It's really strange. Because I don't like to use insect repellent or those kinds of things, because they're kind of nasty chemicals and they get absorbed into you, and they're generally not good to have like in your system. But it's weird. Like I remember before, like we were out many times, like during summertime, during peak of mosquito season, during spring and summer, and some people just get mauled by mosquitoes, me being one of them. Of course, it's because I'm delicious. But other people, the mosquitoes generally don't really bother them, which I find really strange. And I don't quite understand that. So there's some interesting science going on there that is worth exploring. But, you know, we're all different, right? Okay, so what I want to do is we'll go back to the prefab and we'll go look at the popsicle projectile. So the popsicle projectile. Yeah, I think I'll do it here for the testing stuff. Yeah, I'll add that logic here. At age 7, I crushed a bee's nest in air and I got stung what seemed like 1,000 bees. Oh, that's brutal. I never got bit by a bug or stung again once I had a bee's nest almost on my balcony table and they wouldn't even bother me. Interesting. I thought it was because I'm a raw. Oh, you're a raw vegan. Okay, so that obviously makes sense based on the previous name, Vegan Man. Uh, Eat only raw fruits, nuts, and veggies. You eat too much BBQ. You're damn right. I eat a lot of barbecue. I'm a 3 times a week barbecue kind of guy, right? But I eat healthy too, though, right? I don't put like a lot of like sauces and whatnot. I just put herbs and spices on the chicken, on the meat. I try to just keep it pretty much just plain, just meat. I don't buy that mixed stuff where they put all this weird stuff into there. Um, I try not to eat too much sauces, ketchup, mayo, barbecue sauce, those kinds of things. But wow, barbecued food, especially barbecued vegetables, are fantastic. They're so good. Barbecued fries, oh, I could eat disgusting amounts of it to the point where I disgust myself and how much I've eaten. Do you also eat beans then? Because I'm going to assume beans is also on the menu. But when you say raw, though, does that mean that you don't like steam cook them and like put like maybe a little bit of black pepper and salt on it and you just eat it raw? Like the nuts and stuff, I really like. So the fruits and nuts, absolutely, I eat a lot of that. I especially like in the mornings, like banana, strawberry, blueberry, cherries, and so on. The list goes on, right? But then I for nuts, I don't like. It's not that I don't like. My preference is fresh, raw, uncooked, unsalted nuts. Just nothing. Just the nut. And the fresher it is, the more tasty it is. Like having a bite of what's it called? Hazelnut. Hazelnut, the stuff that we buy in the store, it's this dried stuff that most of the time doesn't taste great. But I remember a long time ago, so about 30 years ago, we had this couple who had a hazelnut tree, which would come into season once a year, of course. And I would climb their tree and take the fresh hazelnuts, right? Fill up a bag of it, take it home, and crack them and eat them, and they taste so good. I've never had hazelnuts that taste that good. Like nothing compares to like in terms of hazelnuts, none of the dried stuff or the cooked or the salted or whatever type of seasoning, none of it tastes as good as just the fresh raw hazelnut when it's appropriately ripened, of course, not when it's too ripe. But that was really good. Raw beans are poisonous. I did mean cooked beans. Um, I love raw mushrooms. Yeah, I like mushrooms. I like cooked mushrooms, barbecued mushrooms specifically. Barbecued mushroom with a tiny bit of black salt, black pepper, and a tiny bit of salt. I really like the flavor of that. I've been wanting I've been wanting to break my diet and go to the BBQ place on Commercial Drive, all meat, but haven't found anyone to go with me. That's maybe a good thing, but at the same time, it's unfortunate you can't find somebody to go with you. Uh, I don't eat out that often myself. Like I eat things once in a blue moon. I'll eat Subway. I like Nando's chicken. Um, I just it's very greasy. By no means is it healthy, but Nando's chicken, their lemon herb chicken or any one of those, with their peri peri fries, that's good stuff. Like it's one of those guilty pleasures of mine. Of course, I like pizza. I like all those things. I eat everything, but 90 to 95% of the time though, I'm eating like consistent solid healthy foods though, maybe even more. No, I would say 95% on average. Once in a while, of course, I do slip and I eat a bit more like stuff that I probably shouldn't. Like when I eat fries, I'll use like ketchup and I'll use other things and whatnot, right? Just because once in a while we all want something that just tastes a little bit more satisfying. But generally, I try to eat for nutrition or nutritional value instead of for flavor. It's something that I've gotten myself used to, and it does take quite a while to break that habit. Like I've tried explaining it to others who I've known in the past. I'm not going to get into it, but some people will drink a 2-liter bottle of pop per day. I tried explaining how unhealthy that is and that they are only going down the wrong path in the younger years, so that when they get older in life, it's going to be really bad for them, and the side effects are going to be devastating to their body, like over time, right? But their logic is, but it's so good, how can I not eat it, right? Or consume it, should I say? So you can't really tell someone that that's not good and have them listen to you. You can only suggest it and hope that they take your intentions in the way that it's intended, and they take it to heart in not so much a negative way, but in a way in that what I'm saying to you is good for you, but it's because I care, right? Yeah. Raw nuts are awesome, but must sit in water to get the poison out. I'm not sure what you mean by poison out. Raw nuts are poisonous? I've never heard of that, to be honest. Uh, I used to be in the health industry. Helping others change their diet was hard. Oh, that is going to be really difficult. I can imagine, because I've tried telling people, even people that I know that are close to me, like those they're really poorly labeled. They're called, and as soon as I say it, you're going to know what I mean, energy drinks, right? Red Bull, what's that other one? The Monster drinks. You know what I mean, right? There's so many of them. The list goes on and on, right? They're labeled as energy drinks, but wow, are they terrible for you, right? And some people, they don't read or not some, a lot of people don't read labels to this day, which is really unfortunate. But once you read the label, you'll see that it is not good for you. You should not be consuming this. And it's really difficult once it becomes a habit, because changing habits naturally, the way that we are, right? It's really difficult to change certain habits. I know I'm that way too. I'm no exception to this rule. But when you make good habits, the good thing about that is you tend to kind of see the benefits of it. And because you see the benefits of it, you'll want to do it and keep that habit more. So I'm craving raw mushrooms. Yeah. Mushrooms go good with almost anything. I mean, let's be honest, whether it's white or brown or whatever type of mushrooms, mushrooms go good with pretty much anything. There's no bad time to have mushrooms. But mushrooms, barbecued, mixed with other vegetables, and maybe some like grape tomatoes or things like that, are so good. So good. I really like it. Okay, so play flash freeze animation. So by doing this, you like the earthy taste? Yeah. It's pretty good, isn't it? Like it's really good. Uh, I think that's really good thing to enjoy. Um, I also like what's it called? Cucumbers, right? I know some people don't like it. Cucumbers, avocados, absolutely. Oh, avocados. They taste so good. How can you not like it, right? Like they're just so good. Wrong scene. Let's go over to the other scene. They are nice. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Xbox controller on. Okay, so right there, that should have output play flash freeze animation. Yes, that's correct. So I'm going to tie it into there. So right where it goes and disappears, it'll give that play flash freeze animation. And we're going to use this for testing purposes. Yeah. Okay. That's what we're going to do. So what I'll do is I don't have time today, of course, but I will definitely do it later on. Not tonight, of course. So probably on actually maybe not, because I'm going to be doing more research on shaders. We'll see. We'll see how far we get into it. But so my idea right now is that I'm going to use this event. I'm not sure how I'm going to tie it in yet. But so this event, this one here, play flash freeze animation, it triggers, or it will trigger an event right at the end before it gets recycled. So then I'll pass on the position, so the XYZ position. I'll dispatch that as an event. It'll go through the event system, and then I will have the game room capture it, and during test mode it will play it when it's local and it's not connected to the server. I think that's what I'll probably end up doing, or something similar to that. But yeah, so that's what I'm thinking right now. Whether I deviate from that, I'm not exactly sure, but we'll figure it out. I make my own sushi with everything raw. I'm glad I am glad Japanese restaurants have a lot of raw vegan rolls. Yeah, the yeah, the sushi is great. I don't know, so I might be kind of no, I'm not gonna say. Uh, I was gonna say something, but I don't think it's good to say that kind of stuff on the internet because it's too personal to me. But yeah, no, there's some really good sushi places. I really like sushi. I eat the raw stuff. I eat the cooked stuff. I eat the vegetarian stuff. I eat pretty much everything except for the super oily, deep fried stuff. I can sample it, but I can't eat that. My stomach, I just can't stomach that stuff anymore. Like the deep fried, like say, deep fried California rolls or deep fried tempura or deep fried those assorted tempura. Um, it tastes good. I just can't stomach it. Like I'll take it. I'll take a bite out of it or whatever, and then it's like, yeah, no, I can't eat this. I'll eat something else. Oh no, you dislike tuna sashimi? I eat pretty much everything sashimi. I don't care what kind of fish, eel, uh, turtle, space monkey, whatever it may be, I will eat it. It's just that good. I will eat sushi. It really doesn't matter to me. Octopus, you name it, I will eat it. Absolutely, without hesitation. Okay, guys. So you've successfully made me very, very hungry at end of day. Um, However, I do appreciate you guys coming to hanging out with me. It's always nice to have you guys come and hang out and watch me work on the project. There's, of course, going to be a lot more cool stuff coming for the project in the future. Friday will, of course, be the next broadcast. However, for today, I think I'm going to be calling it at this point. It hasn't been that long, but I'm just kind of I think this is a good logical break before I get into some more deep stuff and then just kind of go for X amount of time. So, for those of you that have not already hit that follow button, if you like the project or if you like these broadcasts, you're welcome to come hang out. The schedule is on Twitch. The time, it's not exact, it's approximate, right? But I do consistently broadcast on Tuesdays and on Fridays. I multicast up onto YouTube. Whichever you prefer, you're welcome to watch it. YouTube might be better for some of you, whereas Twitch might be better for others. It's your choice, whatever you prefer. That's entirely up to you. I'm okay with either or. Um, there is the Discord channel, which you're welcome to come hang out. And I jump in there almost every day. I jump in there just to say hi to everyone. And sometimes I show off some stuff that I'm kind of working on. I throw in some screenshots like the other day. What was it, Sunday or something? I threw in a what do you call it? Just a animated GIF of the emote. So this thing that I was working on. So what I can say right now is that it's going well. I really like this emotes, but I think that's going to be it for me today. So thanks for coming, hanging out. Um, yeah, food talk makes me hungry too. Okay. Okay. So thanks for coming, hang out, guys, and I'll see you in the next broadcast on Friday. Have a great evening, and I'll see you next time.